Greetings, mortals, peers, and queers. I've got a fun one in today's episode of me documenting the steady fall of our democracy. Law professor humiliates Josh Hawley during Senate hearing committee. Is this how you run a classroom? Hawley whined. Yes, the annoyed professor responded. You should come. You'd learn a lot. Let's get into it. It's going to be a transcript of their conversation at the Senate committee hearing. University of California law professor Kira Bridges called out Senator Josh Hawley for being transphobic in the middle of the Senate Judiciary Committee hearing earlier today. Bridges was testifying at a committee hearing about the legal consequences of the Supreme Court's decision Dobbs v. Jackson's Women's Health Organization, a decision that overturned Roe v. Wade and ended the federal right to an abortion in the U.S. In her testimony, Bridges refers to people with, quote, people with a capacity for pregnancy, end quote. Her testimony is not specifically about trans people and non-binary people who can get pregnant. She was there to discuss the legal impacts of the decision on everyone, and she spent more time highlighting the impacts on black people. But she did use trans-inclusive language, and that set Hawley off. Professor Bridges, you've said several times that you've used the phrase that I want to make sure I understand what you mean by it. You refer to people with the capacity for pregnancy. Would that be women? Many women, cis women, have the capacity for pregnancy, Bridges responded. Many cis women do not have the capacity for pregnancy. There are also trans men who are capable of pregnancy, as well as non-binary people who are capable of pregnancy. This should have ended the line of questioning. She wasn't there to testify about trans-inclusive language, and she clarified the expression that Hawley asked about. But the Republican lawmaker had been using questions about trans-exclusive language to derail hearings on other issues, pretending not to understand what appointees and congressional witnesses are saying, so that they can grandstand about giving speeches their opposition, give speeches about their opposition to transgender equality instead of addressing the issue at hand. So this isn't really a women's rights issue, Hawley said. We can recognize that this impacts women, while also recognizing that it impacts other groups, Bridges replied, laughing. Those things are not mutually exclusive, Senator Hawley. He then asked her what the issue of abortion is if it's not exclusively about women, but Bridges wasn't going to let this go without calling out what he was doing. So I want to recognize that your line of questioning is transphobic, and it opens up trans people to violence by not recognizing that, she said. Wow, Hawley replied sarcastically. So you're saying I'm opening up people to violence just by asking about whether or not women are folks who can have pregnancies? So I want to note that 1 out of 5 transgender persons have attempted suicide. So I think that's important. Because of my line of questioning, we can't talk about it? Because denying trans people exist and pretending not to know they exist is, I'm denying trans people exist by asking if you're talking about women, Hawley said, even though he had asked his question to clarify what Bridges was talking about, and she had already answered. Instead of playing his game, Bridges asked him, do you believe that men can get pregnant? No, I don't think so, Hawley responded. So you are denying that trans people exist, she pointed out. Is this how you run a classroom? Oh, we'd have a good time in my class. You should join. You might learn a lot. I love it. I love it. Anyways, that's today's episode. Something just to lift your spirits. If you want to support me, follow me on Patreon. If you want to debate me, follow me on Discord. That'll all be linked in the YouTube with exclusive content where all my debates are hosted. With that, that is today's episode. Y'all have a good evening. I enjoyed this article immensely. Mwah.